Hi, everybody. Welcome to the SMA Suite 2018.11 release readiness session. This is Tanya Sherba with the product management team, and Ankit Desai and Scott Knox have joined me today, and Jason as well, for our organizer. We are here today to learn about the upcoming release, and the release contents in today's session is specifically targeted to SMAX customers as well as SMA Service Portal, so this mixed mode where an SM customer is using the Service Portal. If you haven't attended our release readiness webinars before, let me just give you a quick overview. So we've been doing the webinar series for a long time now, and it's essentially a 1 to maybe 3 sessions per release. And let me just get my better pointer option here for you. And the intention is to help our customers and our partners and internal to prepare for the upcoming release. They're targeted at the business owners to just better understand what's coming and the value in this new capability or new feature, and also the technical practitioners. So maybe not in the first webinar, but when we have drill down webinars, we will get into the the specific technical details of the offering, maybe some implementation and technical consideration. So today's sessions is targeted for both. Now, in the last session, we started to invite our Microfocus employees and partners as well. So in the past, we've done our enablement sessions and our release readiness sessions separately, but because the content was pretty much the same, we've now brought them together, and our internal and partner folks know to leave the question period for our customers, because we actually have a dedicated field-only Q&A session following this session. Okay, so we are here today on Wednesday, November 21st. We did a session last night for the APJ time zone, and the recordings for the sessions are posted in both the SMA SM and the SMAX software communities, and then for internal and partners, it's posted through the regular enablement channel. So that's it for the release readiness webinars and what it is that we're trying to do. What's the agenda for today? So we have our release highlights we'll go through quite quickly, and then we have a couple of sort of drill downs into some demonstrations. We've got some recorded videos of these new capabilities that we want to show you. Not a lot of discussion because you're all on mute, but we encourage you to use the question manager to submit your questions. And again, Ankit, Scott, I think Radusha, if she's here, and Jason will help manage those questions. After the release contents, we'll talk quickly about the evolution program, a bit of an update for most of you, I hope, but an introduction for those of you who don't know about it. Some deployment options, same thing. It's been rolled out now for a few months, but we wanted to take the opportunity while we had you to make sure that you're aware of it. If we haven't addressed your questions, we've got some time at the end of the session, and then a little bit of housekeeping. So let me just put this release in context. Looking forward, from a roadmap perspective, these are the 5 investment areas, and the 2018.11 release is really more of a patch release in terms of content. It's not significant in terms of the new capabilities, but it does fall into our investment areas here, mostly in terms of ITSM and ESM. In the recent past, we've been focusing our releases on platform, more about suite hardening, but you'll see as we move forward with FY19, going back to some of these investment areas. So that's sort of looking forward. Now looking backward, here is the SMA Suite Schedule from the time we started to launch the suite in 2016, November being the first time that we introduced the SMAX content. So we continue with this quarterly cadence. We're trying very hard to keep within the timeframes so that you can anticipate and prepare for updates. Also, obviously working hard to make sure that those updates are easy for you to adopt so that you can stay as current as possible. There have been some adjustments to the scheduling, or sorry, not the scheduling, but more the release numbering. You'll note that we refer to this as the well, my pointer's going a little crazy. Let me get it over here. We refer to this as the 2018.11 release, so keeping that sort of naming convention for the quarterly releases. But again, it's, as I said, it's more of a patch release. So when you look at the release notes, for example, it'll describe what's introduced and how to upgrade, but then or update, but it'll refer you back to the 08 release in terms of the online help. We'll prepare an additional communication that better describes that sort of nuance to the release numbering and what it means to support timeframes, but you'll hear us refer to it as the 2018.11 release. Okay, so that's looking forward and looking backward. Now we have the context of the release. Let's look at what's included. So three categories here. The first is Service Portal ERs. And important to note, we have SMAX and SMA SP customers here on the line. It's important to note when which flavor the enhancement refers to or applies to. So here with the SD numbering scheme, this is for the SMA SM customers, whereas this subcategory drop-down enhancement applies to both. So hopefully we've made it clear on our slides for you, but you know which one to pay attention to. Then we're going to talk through some new integrations, and these are really, we call them illustrative or model integrations, where we're providing the OO scripts as well as a white paper and some videos for the integrations, but really that's an illustration of the integration, which you would then take into your environment and configure or customize as needed. And we'll tell you more about that. And then we're not actually going to go into the third category here. There's a small change to customers that are on Azure. It's not a change, I guess it's an enhancement. And this is something that's already available to our customers that are in AWS. And then we're going to talk a little later about the evolution program. And this is for SM customers that are moving to SMAX. We have some connected scripts that help move some of that master data, and there's some improvements to that, but we won't be covering that today, but it's in the release. Okay, let's talk now about the service portal enhancements, and for that I'm going to turn it over to Ankit.
Great. Okay, thanks, Tanya. Okay, so we have a couple of service portal enhancements that we are planning for our November release. The first one is for the specifically for the mixed mode portal, which is the portal containerized portal integrated to Service Manager Classic environment or a classic and classic deployment, and this particular feature is about allowing or providing an option for our customers to replace POR and PT numbers, which are the portal specific ID numbers, with the SD numbers, which are SM interaction numbers in the portal. Okay. So currently, we provide in the portal, the IDs that we show are POR and PT numbers, okay, which are specifically generated at a portal level. And then they are displayed across our user experiences. That includes the portal as well, the end user portal, as well as mobile apps and other areas. With this release, what we are doing is we are adding an option for our customers to provide to choose which portal numbers they want to show. They want to show POR PT numbers or SM interaction numbers, typically the SD numbers. And this particular setting is available or will be available in the feature settings area of the portal. And you can turn on and turn off whether you want to switch to SD number or just use the POR and PT numbers. And once this option to display the SD numbers is selected, the POR, PT, and PR numbers are going to be replaced with the SM interaction numbers at multiple places on the portal. That includes the request list, request details, approval list, message like submit and resubmit messages, required action, chat, so on and so forth. They will also be replaced in the mobile app. Okay. Now, one thing to keep in mind is in future, especially the release which is targeted for early next year after this release, after the November release, we are planning to completely replace the portal ID numbers with the SM interaction numbers. Okay, so there's some architectural work that we are working on the back end, which will remove the portal specific ID numbers like POR and PT numbers and the PR numbers with the SM interaction numbers. Okay. And this option will no longer be an option. You will customers when they migrate to the new release after November, so most likely the release early next year. It will be they will have to use the SM interaction numbers. Okay, so that's that. Next slide, Tanya. Tanya, can you move to the next slide, please?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so this one is it's a minor enhancement, I would say. It's a UI update or user experience update, actually, for both SMA SM mixed mode portal and the SMAX service portal. And the specific enhancement is about making a subcategory drop down more visible on the portal pages. Okay, so if you recall, under each category on the in the self-service portal or in this new service portal, when you go to offerings tab, there is a drop down which allows you to select multiple subcategories. Okay. And for the SMA SM mixed mode portal, you can have subcategories at different levels. So you can multi-select the subcategories. For SMAX portal. It is a single level because we only go up to 2 levels deep, right? In the SMAX service portal. Uh, but depending on what the backend is, you will see a drop down that is currently available. You will see a drop down to select subcategories on the screen, okay, under the offerings tab. That particular drop down we got some feedback, it's not very visible to the end users, okay, and most of the times uh, it's probably missed on the page, right? So what we are doing in this release is we are making it more visible. We are adding making some changes to the UI to make it more visible on the page. And but the behavior of the subcategory drop down remains as is. There's no change whatsoever. So that means you can multi-select. You can have selection at various levels for the SMAX service portal. Sorry, for the SMA SM mixed mode portal, right? And the behavior of the drop down does not change, but the user experience, there's some minor UX changes to make it more visible on the page. And that's it for these portal enhancements. We are working on a lot more enhancements for our February release, actually release in early next year, and also working on some of the architectural changes for the release early next year. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So SMAX integrations. Okay, so this is one of the major focus area of the release. We will now have 3 additional integrations with SMAX from the SMAX service portal to other backend integrations. Okay, one of this is really about HCM integration. We have, as Tanya said before, we will have integration to Jira, ALM Octane, as well as SAP Solution Manager for various use cases. And we are going to show a demo of all these integrations here in this webinar. And the some a little bit note about these integrations. So these integrations are illustrated guides only. Okay, so that means we have provided a set of overflows, documentations, provided a set of guides, right, and white papers on how these integrations work and what's the intent of them. However, these integrations, completely expect that our customers, when they plan to deploy these integrations or use these integrations, there will need to be some changes based on the customizations that our customers have done in the backend, especially when it comes to systems like Jira or systems like SAP Solution Manager or ALM, which can be I'm assuming heavily customized, right? So we have to make sure that these integrations are customizable and configurable according to customer needs. So these are just reference implementations, and you will have to change these or update these or modify these based on your needs. That means these are reference implementations only. Okay, and on the marketplace, we will have white papers, or we will actually show you. We will publish white paper, OO scripts, videos on how these integrations work and what are some of the things needed for making these integrations to work. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into SCM integration, and then I'm going to hand it over to Tanya to go into details on the Jira and the other integrations. Okay, so for the SCM integration, we have two main use cases that we are planning to enable. The first use case for SCM integration to SMAX is about using a self-service option in the SMAX service portal to to request an HCM offering, and then working with the HCM to fulfill that offering, okay, in the backend. And once the fulfillment takes place in HCM, the notification and the subscription details for that particular subscription which is created in HCM, it is sent over to the SMAX service portal for the end user to review and see. And one of the important one of the things that we have done is it will be some of the work here required will be manual. So HCM offerings which are in HCM will have to be manually set up in SMAX, and the overflows have to be used, which we will provide, right? And once those overflows have been used, then from an end user perspective, you won't see any difference whether they are aggregated from HCM or they are just manually created in SMAX. But at the same time, all the complicated work is done in the background with the overflows. And then the second use case is around managing incidents in SMAX for HCM. So just in case there is a failure during HCM offering, during provisioning of a request in HCM and provisioning of a subscription, actually, then that failure will lead to or trigger a creation of an incident in SMAX, which will then need to be managed separately in SMAX. Okay, so there's two use cases that we have enabled with this release. So let me at this point of time share my desktop and show you how it works. Okay, so I'm going to run through a video. Hopefully everybody can see my desktop. Okay, I'm going to run through a video. So the first one is the use case one, which is really about, and let me go back. This is really about successful VM provisioning in HCM. Okay, this is just an example that we are showing here, but basically a offering like VM provisioning in the SMAX service portal is fulfilled via HCM, and we are going to show that in this video. So, for example, I, as an end user, go to the virtual agent. I request a vCenter VM, okay, through this SMAX service portal. I click on the request via virtual agent, and then I put in some offering. I put in the values like start date, end date, and a bunch of other options, and hit submit. At this point of time, a new request is created in SMAX. Okay, requesting a new vCenter instance, and you can see that all the option values are as we selected. I am going to log in as an agent here, go to approvals, and this one is going to come to an agent for approval. Let's say agent approves the request, and it can be a bunch of approvals, whether it's request approvals, change approvals, all this can be configured. And now this is a request which is now created in SMAX. You can see the workflow, the task plan. This is where I'll stop actually or pause the video. So the task plan itself is of course, a multi-level task plan, and then this is all tied in the backend to the OO flows, where it goes to HCM for fulfillment. Once the fulfillment is completed in HCM, it will get a subscription status and show that subscription URL in the in the request in SMAX. So let's say all the overflows are in the back end, everything turns green. And then at this point of time, you can see a catalog offering and a subscription link to HCM. So when you go to HCM, you will see that the subscription is still being created and it's pending. And after 10 minutes or so in HCM, the subscription would be completed. Okay. Or subscription would be created in SCM successfully. And you will see here that workflow has changed from fulfillment to completed. All right. And then here, let me pause here. In the discussion section, you will see that the VM fulfillment has successfully completed or succeeded in HCM. And here are the URL details in the in the conversation or discussion section. The same will show on the end user portal, which I'm going to show in a bit. Okay. So end user will also get a notification that the VM has successfully been completed, and here's what you see in the end user portal, including the status update that in the comment section that with the subscription URL of this particular request. Okay, and you'll see that in various in HCM that successfully everything has been completed. You can go to HCM and review it, review the subscription, all the details and everything like that. It's all completed and shows up in the end user portal. And of course, you can log into the VM as needed. Okay, so that's one of the use cases. We have heard that use case many times from our customers that they want to enable it, and this is now enabled using the integration that we provide between SMAX and HCM. The second use case is, let's say during that provisioning of the request for a virtual machine, the provisioning fails in HCM for whatever reason. And whatever happens here is you could go through the same flow, right? But in the end user portal, we are going to mimic a failure by inputting an illegal value or some fake value, okay, in the portal itself, so that subscription will fail in the portal, because we want to show in a demo how it really works. So in this case, what happens is request is created in SMAX. You can see all the values here in the SMAX portal. And the same workflow or the same set of steps you'll see here that it's approved from a agent. You'll see the workflows. It's under fulfillment. You can see the task plan, which are being now executed in SMAX via the overflows in the backend, okay, which will trigger a subscription creation in HCM. Okay, so you'll see that eventually all of this will be green. That means it is sent to HCM for creating subscription, and in HCM, once you go to HCM, you will see that eventually the subscription is going to fail because of that value that we entered, and it didn't really go through. Okay, so let me just stop here. Okay, so let me just stop here. So here you'll see that in the status update, it will clearly show that the VM fulfillment has failed in HCM. An incident is now created in SMAX and linked to this record. Okay, and more details on the same subscription can be at this link in HCM. Okay, and when you go to a related record, you will see that actually, hold on. Yeah. So you will see that this incident has been now created in SMAX, right, and linked to this particular request. And in the history, you will also see that all the change history for this particular subscription creation, including all the failures if there's any, and the request will be shown as what we showed on the agent side, which is VM fulfillment fails in HCM and integration is created. So I'm going to stop here, guys, in the interest of time. We don't have a lot of time, but we will be sure to post these videos out, because the next level, next section really goes into details of how this integration configuration was done, and the overflows behind it and how they are configured. But that's at a quite technical detail. So we'll send you the information, and then I'm going to pass it on to Todd now.
Great, thank you. Okay, so the next integration to talk about is DevOps. So we're hearing from our customers the need to bring their development and operations group together to work together more seamlessly. And so how can the tools be configured to support that? And we have created a model use case or model integration here for an integration with SMAX and Jira, but also SMAX and ALM Octane. So I'm going to show a video of SMAX and Octane integration. The Jira one is very similar, but you'll have access to both afterwards. And I think David does a great job here in the video of an overview of the integration and how it's valuable. So I'm just going to let him do the talking, and I'm going to show a video. I'll just start that.
Welcome to this presentation of a SMAX and illustrated integration for DevOps use case. We will look at two parts of this video. The first is the use case that integrates incident to defect in an integrated process approach. And in the second part, we will look at how the integration is set up. The use case is fairly straightforward. Basically, an incident is created in SMAX associated with a specific incident model, which triggers the creation of a linked defect for tracking of an application defect by the R&D team that owns the application. Thereafter, as the defect is moved to closure, that triggers an incident validation and closure movement within the process flow in the incident. We start here with the SMAX incident management application, where an agent can click a button to create a new incident. I'll report on this incident that the e-expense application has a security hole. And as I do that, I select the service associated with this. It's my e-expense application. And I can find a specific offering that allows me to create an application defect for having this tracked. As I do that, the incident is automatically categorized. It also has been assigned to an application services team that will follow it. And I am prompted to enter a further description of the defect for the R&D team. Seems like users can access private data via REST APIs. We can see that my incident has been created, and within the workflow, the incident has moved automatically to initial support by its model. In the task plan, an automated flow has already executed to create a defect in Octane. And as that defect was successfully created, it has added a comment into my incident. And we can look at the details of that defect in a couple places. First, within the assignment section of my incident, there is an external ticket link with a link to the defect in Octane. And I also see an external reference number, which gives me the defect ID. In addition, in the discussion tab, we can see that a comment has been added stating that defect 4107 was created in Octane to track the incident. Of course, if we go back to the assignment section and we look at the external ticket link, the agent can click on that and be taken directly into Octane to look at the defect and track the status more closely. Here we can see the LAM Octane defect. E-expense application has a security hole with the actual title passed in, and the description seems like users can access private data via REST APIs. The owner of the defect in Octane can also see the related incident ID 32370, which actually points to my incident in SMAX. So we have cross-referencing into the defect from SMAX and from the defect back into the incident when a user looks in Octane. Furthermore, as the owner of a defect moves it through various transitions, right now this defect is in its open phase. I'll move it into the fixed phase and save that. That status is moved over to the SMAX incident as well. We'll see how that is done when we look at the integration setup. But for right now, let's take a look at the incident, and I will force an update, which normally will take place automatically. And we can see right now that the status of the incident has been updated to reflect the status of the defect. This is tracked also within the assignment section, where we can see the external ticket status. Right now it's on the phase defect fixed, which represents the name of the phase in Octane. Now back in Octane, let's go ahead and close the defect. Let's assume that it actually has been fixed by R&D. And as that phase transition changes here, we'll go back into the incident. And as we do this, we'll see a couple of things. First of all, in my incident, I see that the external ticket was now closed. And furthermore, if we actually look at the workflow, my incident has been moved over to review so that the incident owner can get the assigned task of reviewing that that fix has actually taken place correctly in the application, and if so, move the incident into its closure. Now that we've seen the integration, let's take a look at how this is set up. It's quite simple, actually, through a combination of codeless configuration. The first part of the integration is implemented within SMAX inside the model definition for incident management. We can see that I have an application defect on the Octane tracking model that has been defined. That's the model that was associated with the incident that we just saw being opened. And within this model, we have a task plan that automatically will create a defect in Octane and then add comments. If the defect is not created for some reason, maybe the connection didn't work, then a manual task is assigned to the application team to log that defect directly themselves. But the creation of the defect in Octane is done through the invocation of an operation orchestration flow that has been defined as part of this integration. And let's take a look at that. So within operations orchestration, we have a SMAX DevOps flow library. Within it, we have a couple of different integrations. One that does the same DevOps type of use case with Jira. We have the one with Octane, and two different flows. The first one that was invoked when the incident is created by the model will create the incident, the defect, sorry, in Octane. And as that succeeds, we'll then prepare some data back to update both the link, the status, and the ticket number in the incident, and pass that information back through REST APIs in SMAX. The second flow in OO pulls updates from Octane and pushes them back into SMAX. It actually takes in as parameters a defect ID that tells us what defects we want to pull from Octane, and then brings that information into SMAX. It actually retrieves the incident ID from the defect and knows what incident to update in SMAX. And this is triggered in a couple of different ways. Within SMAX, we have a configuration done in Studio for incident, where a per schedule rule will trigger a recurring pull of the status via execution of a custom action. And the custom action in turn executes that flow in right now 1 hour intervals. So that's one way that the update can occur. Of course, in the previous presentation, I triggered that custom action manually. In addition, we are currently working to have a webhook push that is also designed to call that same OO flow. And so in this case, there's no need for polling, but the webhook defined in Octane can trigger the calling of that web service whenever the defects are updated. Changes to the defect are passed on along with the ID. We're in the process of looking at how that can be developed as well. That's it. This brings the presentation to an end. The integration you've just seen is fully configurable, and the documentation gives instructions on how what you saw today is configured into SMAX and into Octane as needed. And further configuration, tailoring changes can be done as needed to map to a customer's specific workflow needs. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, David. Back to the slides. Right, so the quality of the video resolution wasn't great there. Apologize for that. We're actually building another video as we speak, and that will be the one that will be posted. It'll be much clearer, and the Jira one is in fine shape. So those will get posted. Let me know if you need them before the end of the week is when we're planning, well, maybe next week when we're planning to have them. So next integration that we want to introduce is the SAP Solution Manager integration. And once again, R&D has made my job easier here, and Jan has created a nice video that describes it well. So I will just play that. No, thank you. Do not want to rate that right now.
This video is about the SMAX to SAP Solution Manager integration. Such an integration provides benefits to the local IT, but also to the business side using the IT solutions. Whereas the IT may have outsourced some services to service providers, the business continues to ask the local IT for support by their well-known self-service portal. The seamless and fully automated integration helps the internal IT to free up resources, since tickets are forwarded directly to the responsible external service provider. Such an integration also helps the service provider, since he can handle the tickets in their own well-known ticketing tool. Finally, this leads to faster response times, higher resolution quality, and improved business satisfaction. Let's open a support request by using the SMAX self-service portal and see how the system is handling such a request. The end user is asking our virtual agent for help to open a support request for the SAP payroll system. Once the request is submitted, the end user can follow its status in the portal or on the mobile phone app. As a next step, let's see how SMAX handles this support request. The support request is assigned to the service desk, but since this issue is handled by an external service provider, the system automatically created an incident which is linked with the request. Looking at the incident, we can see that the system assigned the ticket to the correct expert group, SAP Support Europe. The system automatically forwarded the ticket to the service provider's ticketing system and documented the external record details in the SMAX incident. The service desk agent can also send additional information to the external service provider by simply using the standard discussion feature in SMAX. Next, we look into the service provider's ticketing system, which is SAP Solution Manager, and search for the SMAX incident ID. The SAP Incident Analyst gets all required information directly presented in a standard ticketing solution. He can take ownership from here to work on the issue and send questions back to the Incident Analyst in SMAX. Back in SMAX, we can see the latest updates from SAP reflected in the incident. We can see the new status, but also the question from the service provider. The incident analyst in SMAX can forward the question to the end user and also answer the question of the service provider directly. In the meantime, SMAX sent the latest details to the service provider. The service provider did some research and is now proposing a solution to solve the issue. Because the solution was provided by the service provider, the incident in SMAX moves automatically to the complete status. Since the incident is solved, the end user got informed by SMAX. SMAX is waiting for confirmation of the solution by the end user. The end user goes to the service portal or uses his mobile app to confirm or reject the provided solution. The incident analyst in SMAX is reviewing the confirmation, updates the service provider, and closes the incident. Due to the integrated systems, the service provider is informed immediately about the successful resolution and can close the incident in SAP Solution Manager.
Okay, great. So again, that was the SAP Solution Manager integration, and similar to the previous two, we'll be providing the OO flows as well as a white paper and this video so that you can look to do the same in your environment. Just before we provide some question time, although I don't see any questions that have come in, so I'll remind you, if you have any, please do use the question manager to submit your questions. We've got folks standing by ready to answer those. Now, a quick update on the evolution program. This might be a new term or a new introduction for some of the customers on the line. Hopefully all the partners and the internal folks, it's just an update. But the evolution program was created for our service manager customers who were asking some information and had some questions about the potential to migrate to SMAX or evolve to SMAX, as we call it. And so we created a program that would provide some assets and make that an easier transition for the customer, and also to help better understand the value associated with that. Now, the program does not mean that it's an end to service management or service manager rather, or it's a change in the strategy that we previously announced. There's no requirement for an SM customer to move to SMAX. But for those that are interested in doing so, or at least just to get some additional information, the program has a number of assets, including return on investment and total cost of ownership calculators, a product comparison, so you can understand the differences between the two solutions. There are some, and this will help you understand what they are and on balance, how to compare them to the total cost of ownership and the machine learning and the automation, the more modern portal, etc. in comparison. We also provide a technical approach and recommendation to the solution. So essentially, you're standing up a new SMAX instance, starting with the out-of-the-box best practices, and then bringing in some of the master data that is shared between the two systems. And we have connected scripts to move some of that master data. And then I think also importantly, we have a solution that we use here for our customer projects called Basecamp. And we have base camps for doing a SMAX implementation, and we have another one as well now for the technical move. So all of those things to consider as you're making that change. So your account teams will be bringing this information to you. If you have any questions, certainly reach out to me, and I can either help or put you in touch with the account teams. Again, need to say it again, because we often get the question. It's not a requirement for SM customers, but just for those that are interested. Deployment option update. And so this, as I mentioned at the beginning, was rolled out a while ago, maybe within the last 2 or 3 months, but do want to, while we're all here together, make sure that you've heard the news. So why the changes? Why are we reducing or changing the supported combinations? And as you can imagine, there's a motivation to simplify, not just for us with our testing efforts, but also for the customers and partners to be able, and PS partners to be able to better, more easily track, what the combinations are, and really just to make sure that they were providing the value that was intended. In some cases, we've made some changes to better or proactively plan for some more portfolio changes that we're planning. So, for example, as we look forward to CMS becoming more integrated into the ITOM platform, that may impact the way that CMS is deployed as alongside SMAX, and so we've made some changes there. In some cases, we're moving these combinations to unsupported. So this is when, as I said, they had lower than expected value for the deployment options, and I'm going to show you in the next slide what they are. Current customers that are already in process will continue to be supported. And we have, I think, reached out to all of the customers that were impacted. There were very few, so it shouldn't be news, but certainly let me know if this is news to you. So some were moved to unsupported. Others, though, were moved to controlled, and controlled is a flag that we use sometimes for new features. So if we introduce a new feature in a release, it is generally, it's available for production, but we want to control it, maybe to get some more feedback from customers or for whatever reason. It's a flag that we do use, and eventually it's lifted. And that's the case here too, where there's some deployment combinations where we're putting them into controlled mode, but fully expect to remove that flag and make it generally available. In the cases that we're talking about here, we put it into controlled mode because mixed mode is the example here, where we relatively new support that is changing as well. And so we want to make sure that our customers have what they need to be successful. Sometimes there's additional documentation that needs to be written. Sometimes there's lessons learned that we want to make sure that we're sharing across the account team. So putting it into controlled allows us to do that. And as I said, removing that controlled flag is fully expected once we've worked through some of those early adopters, and can then make it easier for people to adopt without requiring Micro Focus assistance. So what are the changes? Well, the first one is SMA SM full mode, which is SMA SM fully in containers is moving to not supported. Again, if you're currently on there, you'll continue to be supported. If your account team hasn't talked to you already about that, let me know. So that shouldn't be, hopefully it's not news for the folks that are impacted by this. And we'll work with customers to understand what the go forward plan is there. The next area that probably impacts maybe a little longer of a list is the controlled availability for SMA SM mixed mode. This is where the SMA service portal is on top of SM for fulfillment. And here, the reason we're putting into controlled mode is twofold. The first is, this is an example that was mentioned earlier, where we know that some Micro Focus assistance is required in order to improve your chances of successfully rolling this out, or at least to do it in a more efficient way. So if we can control the projects a little bit by having just better understanding of who's doing what, then we can better align our resources to make sure that you have what you need to be successful. The other reason, though, for moving it to controlled availability is that we're planning some architectural changes that Ankit referred to earlier. And as always, this is why customers ask for roadmap presentations, is to be able to make that determination of whether it's better to wait for the enhancements. And for the most part, for these mixed mode projects, it is better to wait, but that's exactly the conversation that we can now have by putting it into controlled mode. And the last one that's been put into controlled mode is CMS with SMAX. And so again, because of some changes that we're planning to make at the portfolio level, we're recommending a deployment option where CMS is installed in classic mode outside of containers, where SMAX is, of course, only in containers. CMS in containers on its own is fine, but it's really when the two of them are brought together. This is a deployment model that we recommend and that we support. So there's really only 3 changes there, but they're quite important ones. And these are implementations that we don't always have visibility to what the customer is doing because it's not a product, it's a deployment model. So we wanted to bring extra attention to it to make sure that you're aware of the changes. Right, so we have a little bit of time here for Q&A. I don't see any questions that have come in. We can take folks off of mute, but we won't. Oh, actually, I do see one question.
Yeah, there are a few, and I answered them.
Okay, great, thank you. It's odd that it doesn't show the status here in GoTo, and I actually can't easily get to them. That's a bit odd. But let me just take a quick look at them to see if there's some. Do people see the answers? Does everybody see the answer when?
I do not see the answers.
No, me actually.
I posted them. I'm wondering if.
Yeah, I also answered them, but I don't see them. Maybe
yeah,
let's see.
Redusa, when you add the answers, if you do a send to all instead of send privately, I'm guessing that's what the issue is.
Okay, so how do I do that? Oh, I see it. Okay.
Okay, and I do see one answer from Ankit actually now.
Okay, so I see now. I need to, I see, but I can't.
I do see the options, and folks, thanks for your patience here. This is a new tool for us. It's our second time using it. So, oh, and I see an answer pop it up now. Yep.
Yeah, and Tanya, I believe the attendees won't be able to see the answers and the questions, so we might have to go one by one.
Okay.
Oh.
So, although Bridget should keep answering, because then I'll just read your answer.
Yeah, but I don't know how to make them visible.
Okay. Well, let me start with the ones that Ankit has answered, and maybe he can help you offline to getting that answer, or I'll read them actually too, that you can answer them verbally because we've got 7 minutes here. Okay, so first one, do these interfaces need SMAX 2018-11? And Ankit's answer is that 2018.11 is a patch on top of 20.08. So you don't need to be on 2018.11. They'll work with a 20.08 release. Although I will say that, it's our goal is to make these releases as easy as possible for you to adopt and have the value to adopt. So I know internally some folks have already done the upgrade, and it really did take a few minutes. So are these integrations for free apart from the OO licenses? And so Ankit's answered this one. Yes, the integrations will be on the Micro Focus Marketplace and for free. And even for OO, we have a community edition which can be used to run the OO flows without full license. So the community edition is a great option for customers. There are some limits to the number of flows that can be run, so you need to think about that. But certainly from an evaluation perspective and exploring if this is something that you want to use, that's a great option. We are using OPB, on-premise bridge to connect SMAX to Jira. Is the demo meaning that we can make the integration without it? And this is answered. So for SMAX to Jira, we're using OO and not OPB, but I'm sure OPB can be used. The artifacts that we
so the answer there is you still need OPB because it goes through OO, right? So it does not eliminate the need for OPB.
Okay, thank you. I think we can probably update our slides to make that a little bit more clear. And I actually did have a side conversation with the folks on our side about the value of OO in this case, because certainly for other case exchanges we don't use it, and I think that's something maybe we can add to the white paper as well. So the integrations that we're using here with OO are using the existing APIs that you could use in a different way, but OO is going to bring some value in terms of queuing and being out of the box, right? Or not out of the box, but at least we're giving you that OO flow so that you can use it. So there are different ways to do it, and this is just one of them. Okay, so here's one that is not answered. Any plans on smart email? If an end user sends an email asking for an update for an existing ticket, will it create a new ticket for them? And how do you prevent redundant tickets? Not sure if this is one that we can answer on the fly, Brindusha. So if an end user, well, I will say that there aren't any smart email enhancements in this release. So if this is something that you're aware, yeah. Oh, sorry, jump in.
Which one?
Okay, so you know what? I'm actually going to skip this one because I think it's pretty specific about smart email. It sounds like maybe it's an enhancement opportunity.
Yeah, and I think we'll take offline. Yeah, anything that's not.
This will be
take it to IROC. Yeah, you need over to IROC, I think.
Okay, so yeah, so for the internal folks, there is you can use IROC for these kinds of questions. I'm not sure if this one's coming from an internal or a customer. And I will say as well, when there is an enhancement, because you know that it's not in the product, we can use the ID exchange to log those as enhancement requests. Okay, and then we've got some folks confirming that they don't see the questions or the answers. So I think that's something that we'll try to improve for next time. We don't typically publish the Q&A afterwards, but at least, well, anyway, we'll talk about how to better management. Okay, and so then there's another question about OO and how it's used and licensing. So we've already answered that. And okay, so I think Ben is suggesting that maybe we share a screen for the answers. Or the Q&A, and I was thinking the same, but then I thought, well, maybe do we want to not show the person's name when they ask the question? But I think that's we're so low on time now. We won't do that this time. But I think that's probably a good enough solution for next time, unless we can find out how to share with the customers or with the attendees. So we'll look at that for next time. Where is the list of integrations, and will there be other third-party apps? So as we've said, the list of integrations. So the list of integrations is available in online help. They'll be these integrations, the content will be posted on Marketplace. So that's another good place to look for your inventory. Is it possible to configure the mobile app? You're going to have to give us more background on that one. So if you're a customer, you can log that question on the software community. And if you're if you're a customer or a partner, and then if you're internal, you can use IROC for that question. And will OO be part of the containerized suite? So actually, today it's not. So today it's sort of loosely part of the suite. I mean, it's defined as part of the suite, but you have to license it separately. There is some work where we're looking at our next level of SMA Suite. So today we have an Express and a Premium view, and now we're looking at what the Ultimate view might include. And so I guess I would say that it's under investigation. Link to MindHub. I don't really know what that is. Does anybody know what MindHub is? Yeah, so we don't know what that is. So you'll have to, maybe you meant Marketplace. I don't know, but you can let us know offline. So with that, we've got 30 seconds left. And so I just want to say thank you for attending. Hopefully you found it helpful. And if you're looking for some more information, I have links here to the practitioners portal. You can see that the 2018-11 release note is already available. And the SMA Marketplace, which is linked here, will have these 4 integrations soon. We're planning maybe within the next week. And then, of course, you can always go to the online software community for SMA, SM, and then separately the SMAX and, the SMAX community is where we typically post the SMA SP questions as well. So customers and partners can log their discussions here, and the internal folks can continue to use IROC. And with that, I'll say thank you to Ankit and to Jason and Bradusha and Scott for helping. And it's the end of this session with the customers. For the internal and partner folks, we're going to have a new meeting, so log in separately to that for the field-only Q&A, and we will be there in just a couple of minutes. Thanks, everybody.